Hey guys, Justin here. I wanted to take a quick second and tell you about the second annual Growth Now Movement Live, held in my hometown of Reading, Pennsylvania, May 15th through 17th, 2020. This event will feature some of my top guests like fitness influencer Natalie Jill, massive keynote speaker Anthony Trucks, and Bellator MMA fighter and humanitarian Justin Wren, and many, many more. This is going to be a life-changing event. It is truly a day-and-a-half long rock concert for entrepreneurs, forward thinkers, and people who are ready to take their life to the next level. So if that's you, head over to gnmlive.com and grab your tickets today because prices are going up soon. Again, go to gnmlive.com now to level up your life and truly create the life of your dreams. Can't wait to see you there. What is the secret to unlocking your full potential? What makes your idols any different than you? How do you become the person you've always wanted to be in life? This is where you get all of your questions answered. My name is Justin Shank, and I sit down with some of the most epic individuals who are changing the world with their actions in business and in life. We discuss how they did it, why they pushed themselves, and more importantly, how they were able to focus on continuous growth to achieve their dreams. Welcome to the Growth Now Movement. This week, I sit down with Jay Menez. Jay is an author, coach, speaker, and TV host. He helps ambitious solopreneurs thrive through marketing, mindset, and media coaching. Through his career path from public service to law school to Wall Street banker to real estate financier and now Hollywood filmmaker and TV host, he's turned adversity into opportunity. These experiences shape the perspective sought by clientele that includes C-suite executives, celebrity entertainers, and top entrepreneurs. Jay is also the author of the best-selling book, Spark, The 8 Mental Habits of Highly Successful People. You guys are going to absolutely love this episode. You know, Jay's somebody I've connected with a number of years ago, and it was one of those like deep connections immediately. And he handed me his book, and I was blown away by the content in it. And then we've continued to stay connected, having breakfast out in LA and hanging out in San Diego and Orlando. And he's just a really, really great human being who is there to help people just like you level up their life and get that celebrity branding personality. And in this episode, we do talk about mental habits of highly successful people. We talk about how you're able to then take your brand and take it to the next level. And Jay is truly a down-to-earth guy, and I think you guys are going to love him just the way that I do. Now, if you guys haven't heard, there are less than 24 hours left for you to head over to gnmlive.com, buy a VIP ticket, and not only get VIP access to Growth Now Movement Live, but you also get an hour-long workshop with the incredible, amazing Anthony Trucks. So if you want to learn from somebody who partners with the best, who has mastered online marketing, who has truly grown his brand from nothing to a gigantic following and has made 7 figures, et cetera, then now's your chance. Head over to gnmlive.com, grab your VIP tickets, get the VIP experience at the event, and also a bonus 1-hour workshop with the man, the myth, the legend, Anthony Trucks. Now, without further ado, let's get to the episode with Jay Menez. Jay, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Justin.
Yeah, I'm excited. We met. Did we meet at first at PodFest last year?
We met at New Media Summit.
That's right. So we met at New Media Summit, reconnected, and actually got to know each other a little bit at PodFest. And then we had lunch at the infamous IHOP in LA just a couple months ago. And here we are. And obviously, you're somebody who, a mutual friend of ours, Jeremy Ryan Slate, talked you up like no other. And when I looked into you, I'm like, wow, this dude's really impressive. And I'm just glad that you're here.
Well, thank you.
We're going to share your wisdom and your journey with my audience because I think it can relate to so many people. You've done some incredible things. But why don't we talk about who is Jay Menez today, and then we'll break down how you got there.
Oh, goodness. Well, I'd have to say that today, I'm somebody who's much happier in what I'm doing. I love my work. I'm much more fulfilled. I feel like I'm making an impact and still growing every day.
Yeah, no, I love that. So why don't we talk a little bit about your work and why you chose it and why was making an impact such a big thing for you?
Well, and I guess we've got to get a little bit into my backstory to completely understand that. But my first big career was in public service. I was actually in high school. I was in a volunteer fire department. I graduated from high school. I became a paramedic and did that on a volunteer basis, and then on a paid ambulance a little bit in college, and then after that I went into the police department where I served for almost 5 years,
Wow.
And then after that, that took me to law school, to Wall Street investment banking for several years, real estate finance. There were some things in between there, but I won't go into all that detail.
All the things, and it's so funny because you don't think policeman, investment banker, like those two don't usually connect. I mean, what was it about the massive shifts in those industries that you're like, I want to try that, I want to try that?
Well, funny you ask, and yes, while a lot of people these days do tend to skip around in jobs, decades ago, you'd kind of get out of college and have one job for the rest of your career, retire and die. But nowadays, it's not that way. But even then, people they kind of stay in the same industry or line of business as they're switching jobs. And so mine is a rather unusual mix, as you pointed out. But even from when I was really young, I was a curious kid, and trying to find my passion, not consciously, but really that was the process of it. So I believe in trying different things, and anything that sparked my curiosity, I'd go in there and I'd go in there hard. And I'm the type of person that I don't tend to dabble into something. If I get interested in something, I'm in, up to my neck, at least for a period of time, until I achieve a level of expertise, not mastery, but just a level of expertise I'm happy with. And then, either I like it or I don't, and then I'll move on to something else. And I think that's what's happened with my career. And, when I went into the police department, I thought that would be a lifelong career. And then that entrepreneurial bug hit me, and I found myself limited. Public servants don't really make a whole lot of money. And I thought, well, there's more that I want to do with my life. I don't want to sit in this career. It's a very noble, honorable career, and I probably could have been happy in it. But it wasn't for me. I had bigger ambitions, so I had to go out there and try that stuff.
No, and I love that. And obviously, you went into law school, and then you got into investment banking, and I know you ventured into real estate and really kind of did extremely well in real estate, and that was like a catalyst for that. In my opinion, when I look at the trajectory of all those jobs, that was the catalyst and the taste for true entrepreneurship. Of like, I'm in control of where this is going. Was that like something that was overwhelming to you? Like, what was that journey like in that part of your career?
Well, right. It really led to leveling up a huge amount in my life. Monetary success, the way I had defined it at the time. Relationships. I had houses. I lived in southern, Orange County, California, next to the ocean. It was beautiful, and I guess it did happen pretty quickly, and in a way was kind of a culture shock. But I think I handled it okay. I didn't make 100% right decisions with my money, but I had fun with it.
Yeah. And that's all that matters, in my opinion. Like, look, if you're not enjoying what you're building, what's the point, right?
Yeah.
And it truly was that. And if I know correctly, and I've done some research, was it the crash in 2008 that kind of like changed that trajectory for you as well?
It sure did. Yeah. I was deep into, after coming out of investment banking, I got a California real estate broker license. I went into real estate, and which was heavily focused on the mortgage business, primarily hard money loans to developers and builders and commercial type loans. And we did really well doing that. And then when that crash came along, my borrowers, who were entrepreneurs themselves, started defaulting on me. I mean, all of a sudden, it really happened in the span of a year. All of a sudden, I went from thriving to like, hey, all these defaults. So I had all these properties that were underwater, and it really, really just devastated that industry, that market, especially Southern California. And in setting it up, we had made standard wise business practices as far as our loan to value ratios. We thought, okay, we're plenty protected. It's 25-30% equity. When has the real estate market ever gone that much? Well, we found out, and some of that property went down 50% and more. So my borrowers found themselves upside down and just walking away from the property. And so
that's crazy.
Yeah. And then, I guess back to your original question, this what led me to where I am today is that when I was talking about public service, that journey from public service to Wall Street to being a rich asshole, and then this crash, I found myself in the situation where, okay, I lost my business. I've got to start over. Should I rebuild in finance, which I could have done, and probably gotten to the same income level, fairly quickly,
sure.
Or do I go a different direction and do something that's ultimately more fulfilling? Because making rich people richer isn't really, that's, I don't call that impact. It's not.
That wasn't
personally
one of those,
fulfilling.
like, my heart is full at this point. Your bank account probably was, but the heart was not full.
That's right. And so that sense of fulfillment and contribution was really missing since those days in public service as a firefighter, paramedic, police officer. And I kind of missed that. And so I decided to go the different route. I decided to be a filmmaker, tell empowering, inspiring stories, and try to help people that way.
Yeah, no, I love that. And because that's obviously what I do with this podcast. Obviously I don't have the film side of things covered. And I know you've had some, we can get it. We'll get into your show, Hollywood Real, and the incredible guests and all these things. But with what I'm doing with this is about telling incredible stories to inspire, like not necessarily obviously, Jay, people should work with you. They should hire you, and hopefully they find you and they want to. But the end of the day is hopefully something you say here changes a life. Right. And really all it is sharing your journey in complete authenticity. And that's what you ended up doing. And it is extremely fulfilling. It's extremely fulfilling being able to do that and impact lives along the way. And the fact that you can make it your living is in 2020 now is pretty amazing. Right. And so how did you take that deep dive? Like, how does somebody do that shift? I think so often people want to make that shift and want to take that jump and they don't know what to do.
Yeah, great question. So really, that point in my life was really the start of my journey into personal development. I had followed guys like Tony Robbins, kind of over here, and I'd been to a seminar that somebody invited me maybe 10 years earlier. But it was that time I kind of really had to kind of figure this out because it was confusing, and you're kind of half depressed and half okay. Oh shit, what do I do?
Yeah.
A lot of people tell stories where, I felt like killing myself. I was never there because I think that I've always had this built-in sense of figure-outableness, as Marie Forleo puts it. And so I knew I'd get my way out of it. But it's like, which direction do I go and how do I do it? And I think all the personal development, the inner work helped a whole lot. And what that involved was, of course, studying leaders, thought leaders in that area, reading, interviewing people, meeting them. As part of my film work, I found myself in close proximity to a lot of these people that I had only previously read about or seen on TV or on videos. And so I think that inner work, I call it, working on your inner game was a big part of that. And in fact, that led to my book, which I wrote called Spark, the 8 Mental Habits of Highly Successful People.
Yeah. And
you want me to go into that?
No, right. And it was perfect. It was a perfect segue because that's actually where I was going next, the book's incredible. You gave me a copy. Thank you again. While we were at Podfest, and the book's incredible because it really is a dive not only into mindset, which is this word that people just throw out there and they're like, oh, mindset, I've got the right mindset. it literally dives into 8 different types of mindset and what that means and how you can utilize that in your life, which to me is a game changer when we think about the art of mindset, because it is truly an art. It's something that can be learned. And when you start to evaluate the high performers, they do it in a certain way. So tell me a little bit about how you started to figure out these 8 different types of mindsets, and then tell me some of your favorites.
Well, okay, so the mindsets are really, and I'll just list them real quick. We've got the mission mindset: action, creativity, connection, abundance, growth, generosity, and the mindset of gratitude. And these are all areas that I had explored individually, kind of in my working on my own inner game, and each one of them describes how would you say, like a was a discovery for me, that I thought that when you take these all, and it's something, all these things were things that were common in all these high performance, these thought leaders that I talked to, interviewed, and studied. And so I had thought, wow, for people where I was at the time, beginners to this mindset, because like you said, you talk about mindset, it's such a huge area. It's this word that people throw out, but a lot of people don't even understand what it means, right? So I thought, why don't I write something that I want to give to my kids, if I had any, that would really make it simple, break it down in its most basic form, but it's also very useful and actionable for them. Because these mental habits or mindsets are things that they don't teach you in school, and I think that's a big mistake, because they're the mental tools that you need to not only succeed but just deal in life and deal with other people. So I really wanted to put this together, so I created this as this framework and compiled it, and that was resulted in this book that I'm very proud of.
Yeah. And so obviously you know, what I love about what you do, Jay, is you don't only journey into these things. Like most people will study and implement into their own lives. You then turn it around and you become not only the master of it, but then you teach people. And you spread the word and you do all these things. And that's through the book, and that's through, Hollywood Reel, the show, and all these things. And so what was it about venturing into this idea of self-development that really caught you? Because I think it happens with a lot of people. It happened to me at 19 years old, and then I started a real deep dive at 30. But like, what was it about it that was like your hook?
I think that it's social psychology. I just think that, God, that's a great question. I think I was intrigued in the way it creates influence in other people. Yeah. How do we influence ourselves, and how do we influence our other people? Not in a manipulative way, but just in an authentic way, if I can use that word.
Yeah, I mean, everybody, I use that word and I go, every time I use it, because so many people use it, authenticity and vulnerability and all these things. But really, that's kind of the journey that we're on, because I think self-development isn't only a way of bettering yourself, it's a way of discovering yourself, even like, who are you meant to be? Who are you supposed to be? And that is, authenticity. That is all those things. And so when I look at what you're building here and everything, and it's so true, like I looked at that and I was like, look, it's not only a way of bettering myself, it's a way to impact a life. It's a way to change somebody's mindset. It's a way to help them get to where they want to go. And I think that's why you and I hit it off. It's because we have the same goal. Now we have different vehicles. You're in LA, I'm in Reading, Pennsylvania. There's different approaches depending on where you live and depending on the audiences that you have and who you surround yourself with. So obviously you're somebody who has had the opportunity to be in the rooms with some of the major players on this planet. What were some moments that you've experienced that were either life-changing for you, or ones that you went, I need to follow that, or I need to write that down, and that's what I'm going to take into my next life, which is now the movie production?
Oh, goodness.
Sorry, I tend to ask questions that you've never been asked before.
Yeah, well, that's the mark of a good interviewer. I try to do that myself, not unsuccessfully sometimes, but every so often I'll hit that sweet spot and I'll get going. But what are those moments? Goodness, I I'll tell you about a moment where I discovered where I made a discovery about mentorship for myself, and that's when I was, as a filmmaker, older. I find myself on set with a lot of younger people, a lot of actors and filmmakers who are trying to figure out their careers. So I find myself doing impromptu coaching sessions with guys like that. They always want advice about this and that and everything. And and I had a young actor ask me about mentorship one time, and in that discussion, I won't go into details about it, but I had discovered that that in offering my help, I discovered one. Well, in offering my help, I advise that they should get a mentor, even a virtual mentor. You don't have to spend money for this. Studying somebody's videos online is virtual mentorship, right? Watching your podcast is, I'm sure you're a virtual mentor for way more people than you probably realize. And so that was part of my advice, but also that I believe that at the same time, there's people that are trying to get to where you are. And so you not only have to find a mentor, but mentor people, that are trying to come up. Hence, we had talked earlier about taking this information and then sharing it. I think that's where I'm going. Is that you can't always take. You need to. I think, in the words of David Meltzer, he talks about this. But you take this value, you take this information, you add value to it, and then you pass it on.
Yeah,
and that's how you keep your vessel from filling up. It's never full because you fill it a little, and then you give it away, and then you fill more. And as long as you're passing it along, paying it forward, your vessel's never going to fill up completely. And so there's always room for more knowledge, more opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that. And that's advice for anybody, no matter where you are in your life, because I realize that so many people think they shouldn't be able to give advice until they've reached a certain point. But the problem is they're never going to feel like they're at that point. You just have to start giving, right? There are people out there in the world who, no matter where you are, people are looking at you and saying, I want your life. How do I get that? Right. And so in order to kind of give the little nuggets and I like the fact that you said, add to it and then pass it on, add to it, make it your own, or add your extra step or your extra whatever and pass it along. And I think that that's key. And that's a lot of what you're doing with Hollywood Real. Let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about that journey into that space and what that looks like for you.
Yeah. Well, Hollywood Real is, is something that I'm really proud of. It started off as a pet project, but essentially, it's a show that features celebrities who are sharing their stories, the habits and mindsets that drive their success, so that other people can model that or learn from those experiences and hit that next level in their own lives.
Yeah, no, and I love that. And it's cool that you get, I think you've had like Jenny McCarthy on the show, or you just interviewed her recently. Was it Jenny McCarthy?
No, it was Jenny Garth, I think you're talking about, from 90210.
Jenny Garth, the other Jenny. Yeah, so Jenny Garth from 90210. And it was funny because I saw it on your Instagram story, and I was like, I got to tell my sister, because my sister loves 90210, the whole reboot thing and all that stuff. So she was a big fan of it. But, it's really cool to kind of hear how you're taking conversations with them and taking it onto a more realistic level. It's a deeper dive. It's not just like, hey, what are you promoting? It's so much more. But also the cool part about the space that you and I are in, as far as being a host of a show, we get the opportunity to help people grow their brand. We help people build a platform. We help people get their message out there. And I know that's something you do with people. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
I think you're referring to creating personal media brands.
Right.
And really what that's about is helping. Well, let me put it this way. My ideal clients in that space are people who are trying to level up and create online authority for themselves. And, so that they can, have better lives and build their businesses. And so what I do is I help these guys. Excuse me, I've got a camera roving around here.
You're good. You're good.
Oh, I just lost you here. Hold on.
Oh, are you there?
That's okay. I'm right here. Yep.
All right.
Okay, so my ideal clients want to level up and they want to build authority online, but they lack confidence, mentorship, and inspiration. And so what I do is I help these ambitious entrepreneurs thrive by helping them create personal brands built on one mission, mindset, and media, so that they can have more influence and income and impact. In other words, I help them get more attention to their business or to their cause, so that they can become niche influencers, niche celebrities and influencers.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a little chopped up here. Anyway,
You're good. I mean, and it's true, and it's perfect timing because there's so many people looking to do that. Are you able to share one or two tips now with my audience if they wanted to kind of get started on their own, if they're not quite ready yet to work with you?
Oh, sure. Well, what a personal media brand is it's really it's a personal brand based on a media platform, right? Everybody, when people think about personal brand, they're usually talking about somebody's character, their style, and most importantly, what they're known to have expertise in, right? And everybody's got a personal brand. I remember asking somebody recently, how they see their own personal brand. They said, I don't have a personal brand. But everybody has a personal brand, whether you know it or not. You might be the kid down the street that's really good at computers, right? That's their personal brand, because it's basically your personal brand is what people say about you and how they describe you when you're not in the room. So a personal media brand is simply a personal brand that purposely demonstrates value via a media platform. So even if you're not ready to work with me, it's about just putting value out there. Start a YouTube channel or on your Instagram or something. Find something to focus on, your one big thing, and start teaching people about it. Put content out there around that. And then most importantly, and this applies to any brand, personal media brand, whatever, is that, and here we are back to that authenticity word, is that we need to make sure that we're congruent between our online and our offline brand, and our personal life and our business life. Because nowadays, people's BS detectors are pretty good. So you don't want to be the guy who online is the giving guy and, kindness and everything, but in their personal life, they're a real asshole to their staff and to and to service people. You don't want to be that guy. They'll sniff it out. And so I think that's a big part of what I teach.
No, and there's a lot of those people out there that are a fraud. They're frauds online. And actually,
yeah,
I wish they'd sniff them out a little bit harder. Anyway, that's a whole different off the record conversation.
Yeah.
But, I just love the trajectory, and I love the story and the growth that you've been through. I look at all the different chapters in your life and the things that you've done from public service to now and everything in between. You were successful in every single one of them. So my question for you is, what's your definition of success? And what are 3 things you do every single day to ensure that success for yourself?
Well, success is a personal thing, and it's really what you make it. I always say that success is a mindset. It's not necessarily a dollar amount or something that you have or a job title.
Right.
And so for me, it's really success for me is what I have right now. It's being able to go to work every day and doing what you love, right? That doesn't mean that you're going to be 100% happy all the time, every day. It means though that you're going to be happy, most of the time. I'm not happy all day, but I'm happy every day. Let me put it that way.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
And it's so true too. Like at some point throughout the day, I'm happy. Like, at any given time, even though as entrepreneurs, there's stress, there's things going on, there's constant movement, there's things we can't control and as entrepreneurs, we want to control everything. I think we can all agree to that one. This is just one of those things that it doesn't always work the way we want, but as long as you can find happiness throughout the day, every single day, that's a huge win. So what are 3 things you do every day? Do you have a routine? Are there certain things that you make sure that you get accomplished every day? What are they?
Yeah, well, I let's see. How do I put this? There's different areas we're talking about, but a more recent practice is that I meditate every day. Some people meditate for a long time. I just take 5-10 minutes, either in the morning or the evening. I practice gratitude every morning when I wake up. I say thank you. Before I go to sleep, I say thank you. Those are 2 really big practices. Strategically, what I do is I want to refocus on the night before. What is it that I want to accomplish the next day? What is this one thing? I don't give myself a big, overwhelming list, but I always give myself, what is that one thing that I need to get done tomorrow? And I try to knock that out as early as possible.
I love that. Yeah. And when you get it done early as possible, you don't have to stress the rest of the day, which is always a good thing. So before I get to the final question that I ask everybody, Jay, let's get to the important stuff. How do people get a hold of you? How do they start working with you? How can you help them build their brands? What's all the good contact information?
Well, okay. So my website is jmenez.com. Pretty much everything's on there. My social media, all those handles are at jmeneztv. That includes Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I've got a new YouTube channel. My show Hollywood Real has not been generally publicly available. It's been locked down on a VOD platform, but probably by the time this airs, it's going to be on YouTube. And so you can be one of the first subscribers.
I love it. No, I love it. Yeah. I'll be one of the first subscribers because I'm excited to see what you do with that. And, as we release it out into the public, I mean, I've seen the back end stuff. I've seen the stuff you've posted, and it's been extremely exciting. So guys, make sure you go check him out. So Jay, as you know, this podcast is called The Growth Now Movement. So I wrap up every single episode with this one question, and that is, in your life, what has been your biggest moment of growth?
And I'm prepared for that because I knew that was your last question. Although I had to think about it a little bit, and I think the biggest moment is the process of writing my book, because it really it put all that stuff together. The book, it started out as something, didn't end up what it started out to be, and in the process of writing it is where that framework actually came together, and put it in simplest terms possible. And so for me, I think that was probably, although I've had a lot of moments of growth, big moments of growth, that was probably the most impactful.
I love it. Jay, thank you so much, man, for coming on and sharing your wisdom and just, continuing to do what you're doing to make an impact and to continue to touch as many lives as you possibly can, man. This was fantastic. I will definitely see you at PodFest. Hopefully we'll be seeing you at Growth Now Movement live. And thank you so much.
For sure. Thanks, Justin. Really appreciate it, man. Thank you for what you do. Thanks for having me on, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you guys so much for being a part of the Growth Now movement. This is how you can really help me out. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please share it out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that fun stuff. And let's grow this movement to epic heights, and it's all going to be because of you guys. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.